just a couple of minutes, and then we can get started. I'm so happy that all of you were able to join. Um, my apologies that we will not be able to broadcast on the uh, uh, Zoom, not on the Zoom, but on the Facebook and YouTube. So sorry about that. So I'll just start off with the Mangalacharan prayers, and then we can get started. Om Ajnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dati Swapadantikam Andeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Bhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Matsamo nasti papatma naparadhi cha kaschana parihare pilajjame kimbruve purushottama bhumau skalita padana bhumireva valambanam tvai jata paradhana tvameva sharanam prabho govinda vallabhe radhe prarthaye tvamaham sada vadiyam iti janathu Govindo mam tvaya saha Radha Radhita Radhesha Radhika Prana Vallabha Radha Ramana Vande Tvam Radhika Prema Nichita. Hare Krishna. So I Ram Vijay Prabhu and his August group from Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for joining, and all the wonderful devotees that have joined today. I'm so grateful. So we, according to the schedule, we have some happy coincidence that we were supposed to do introduction last class and then the first chapter this week, but we started off with the first chapter last week. So we do have some time to discuss and then ask questions. So that is always a happy and joyous occasion. So thank you. So we stopped at a verse. Which verse did we stop at last time?
21.
21. Excellent. So let's so the other thing is, I please do put it in chat if you have questions, and one of the things that might make it efficient would be that I can just go ahead and read the Sanskrit verses and complete the class. And then, the questions can be asked, because to ask all the devotees to do the reading might be a little bit of inefficient. So though I would love to do that. So that is something, if you think that you still want to read or you still want to do verses with me, then we can do it. But in the interest of covering the time, we can go like that. It's a little bit faster. Is that kind of okay? Okay. And if you have questions, you can type it in Zoom or the Zoom chat, or you can also type it in the WhatsApp group. Either ways, we can respond to the questions. So thank you. All right. So we can do the 22nd verse. Oh, verses along with you. Okay. So, okay. So you can just keep typing it in the chat, and then Sirisha Mataji can call who wants to go and stuff like that. So since Upasana Mataji has asked, so we can, okay, Upasana Mataji, you can do at least 1-2 verses, then we can see how it goes. Is that okay? You want to join me or not? Because that way, what the problem is that, so okay, if that is the case, then we'll do one more thing. It's an easier thing. I will say the verse, and you can say it all on the when you are muted. For now, Upasana Mataji, you can go along with me, but later, we can just, everybody can follow, but it'll be kind of muted. So yeah, so verse number 22, right, Mataji? So I can't see the verse. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Arjuna Uvacha Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratam Stapayamechyuta Yavadetam Niriksheham Yodhukaman Avastitan Kairmaya Saha Yodhavyam Asmin Rana Samudyame. All right, Avanish, you can do the translation.
Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms.
Thank you. So, as I said in the last class, in the Mahabharat war, 3.994 million soldiers were assembled. How do I come to at this number? Or how did people even in general come to this number? Because nowadays, a lot of data is being thrown around, and you can ask anybody in that particular field, where sometimes the data is genuinely correct and sometimes it's not. So it is said that Pandavas had 7 Akshohinis or 7 divisions of army, and the Kauravas had 11. And for the Akshohini has a set number of figures, and the ratio is also split. There has to be 1 chariot, 1 elephant, I think 3 horsemen, and 5 foot soldiers constitutes the 1 indivisible molecular unit, and then X number of that particular divisions make up 1 Akshohini. So the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they all constituted 3.94 million soldiers. They all assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So there was like a quarter of mile between both the armies as they faced each other. So there was a big wide road. I mean, so it's not like forgive me, Krishna, but I didn't. This is like not like such a small gap that Krishna had to actually go through like that. It's not impossible for him to go like that. It's a big wide road. And so Arjuna asked Krishna, "Oh Krishna, please take me. I want to see who are these people who have come to fight against me." And then, as we said earlier in the last class, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because he was willing to play the charioteer of Arjuna, he can just see how Krishna is bound by the love of his devotees. In fact, in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is just mentioned how Maharaj Ambarish, when he was harassed by Durvasa Muni, and when Sudarshan Chakra was behind Durvasa Muni as he ran over different corners of the universe, seeking the shelter of different personalities like Brahma, Shiva, and then he goes to the Vaikuntha Loka, where Lord Vishnu says, Aham Bhakta Paradhino, I am bound by my devotees. And here also, taking that same role, Krishna becomes the charioteer of Arjuna and just is willing to be commanded by Arjuna. He is the same absolute truth from whom all the Vishnus come. He is the same absolute truth who is the one. That's it. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. And that eternal Nitya is Krishna. But he is just saying, okay, Arjuna. Next verse, please. So Mataji, what we can do is we can do the advanced view so that it's easier, because we'll won't go through purports. So we can go to the advanced view, and then we can yeah, no problem, no problems, no problem. Yeah, and then we can just remove the purports. Please read the purports. Just because we don't read in the class, purports are the personal ecstasies of Srila Prabhupada. Please don't and please don't neglect them. I wish we could go through every verse and purport, but it is difficult. So good, there is no purport. Thank you, Mataji. There is no purport, so we can go to the verse number 23. Sorry. No problems.
Even if we do Control F and you can just go directly there, it will help you, Mataji.
Sure. Okay. So next verse. Yotyamanam aveksheham ya etatra samagata dhartarashtrasya durbuddher yuddhe priyachikirshava. Translation. So here, Ujjvala Rasamataji, you can do the translation.
Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra.
Thank you. Text 24. Sanjaya uvacha eva mukto hrishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayor ubhayor madhye stapayitva rathottamam. Translation. Sachin, please do the translation.
Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties.
Thank you. And text 25. Bhishma Drona Pramukataha Sarvesham Chamahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashaitan Samavetan Kuruniti. Amit Goswami Prabhuji.
In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of world, the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. Prabhuji, can I make a quick suggestion, Prabhu?
Yes, sir.
So, Prabhu, when you are reading the Sanskrit verse, can you like do it in like, just read it and then take a pause so that we can recite based on what you have recited?
Perfect. I will do that. Or I can do 2 lines. I'll do 1 line.
Perfect. 1 line and 10 seconds break, 1 line, 10 seconds break. That
Yeah.
catch up exactly.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds
Thank
good. I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. And then Tatra pashyat sthitan partah pitrun ata pitamahan acharyan matulan bratrin putran pautran sakhinstata swashuran suhrudaschaiva senayor ubhayorapi. Tejas, English, please.
There Arjun could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law, and well-wishers.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next one. Tan samikshasata kaunteya sarvan bandhun avastitan kripaya paraya vishto vishidan idamabravit. Jai Shri Radha Mataji.
When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus.
Thank you. So one of the questions that came in chat was, why is Arjuna addressed as Gudakesha? And it is mentioned, as Sachin posted, that Srila Prabhupada says that he was able to conquer sleep. And it is mentioned actually that Arjuna he was such a brilliant student that Dronacharya was equal to all his students, but it is inevitable, unnatural, practically unavoidable. If your son or child is one amongst the students, you give them that little extra attention. So, Dronacharya was very clever. What he did was, he told all his disciples to go and get water from the river. And for all, he provided them necks with very narrow necks, so that when you try to fill in water, it'll take a long time to fill in the water. But for his own son Ashwathama, he gave a broad necked pot, so it could fill it easily. So Ashwathama would take the pot, fill it up with the water, and run back to his guru or his father, and then he would tell him extra secrets, extra tips that other students couldn't come at that point of time. But Arjuna, somehow or other, he learned this secret, and then he also somehow or other tried to come back. One night, Arjuna actually was eating dinner prasadam, and suddenly, when he was eating, the lamp blew out. Of course, in those days, we didn't have electricity, and the lamp actually blew out because of the wind. And Arjuna, he was still eating. And then a powerful thought struck Arjuna, that to eat, I don't need to see. And then he said, let me also practice the archery in the same way, that all I need is sound. I can, where the sound is coming from, I can just aim my arrow and shoot. And he would practice at night shooting. And then he would actually stay up at night trying to shoot. So that is the reason why Arjuna here is addressed as Gudakesha, because he was able to conquer his sleep and practice the archery. Now, why is sleep associated with ignorance is because when we read the Bhagavad Gita in the later verses, when Krishna talks about the three modes of material nature, when he describes the mode of ignorance, he says those in the mode of ignorance, they tend to sleep a lot. And sleep in general is associated with mode of ignorance. And to sleep for certain amount of time, yes, everybody should do that. Yuktahara viharasya, it is there mentioned in the 6th chapter, that we neither should sleep too much nor to sleep too little. So that is the reason why it is associated with the mode of ignorance. Is that okay, Rachel? Okay, cool. Next verse. Then actually, Tejas, can you make sure that if we have any questions in chat, you can just let me know, please?
Okay, Prabhu.
Thank you. Text 28. Arjuna uvacha drishtvaimam svajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupastitam sidanti mama gatrani mukam cha parishushyati. Pavitra Renu Mataji, please do the translation.
Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up."
Thank you. Text 29. Vepatuscha sharire me romaharshascha jayate gandivam samsmrite hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate. Ankita, Mataji, you can do the translation, please.
Hare Krishna. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning.
Thank you. Nacha shaknomyavastatum pramati vacha me manaha nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. Vaishnavi?
I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I only see causes of misfortune, O Krishna, the killer of the Keshi demon.
Thank you so much. So at this point of time, Arjuna is really having some concerns because he has seen who he's fighting against. All these years, please understand that Arjuna had not seen his relatives for a while. The Pandavas lost their kingdom in battle and they had gone off to forest for 12 years and they had lived in the kingdom of Virat for incognito for 1 year. And when the Kauravas said, sorry, we are not going to give the kingdom back. They are actually going to go and collect the armies. The Pandavas started scouring the nation, asking different things, please come on, fight on our side. And Duryodhana was doing the same thing. And at that point of time, Duryodhana had upper hand because Pandavas, they were just coming out of forest. They barely had any riches, any power, any prestige. And as you know, Kshatriyas are attracted to these. And that's the reason why somehow or other they could manage only 7 Akshauhinis, whereas Kauravas were able to manage 11 Akshauhinis. And during all this time, Arjuna, he did not see his relatives. It's been like 13 long years. And when the war was inevitable, and when Arjuna actually saw all these different grades of people, different grades of relatives, his own grandfather Bhishma, on whose lap when he was a small boy, he soiled the clothes of Bhishma Dev while he was sitting on the lap. And he was the same personality, same Drona, who was so affectionate and so encouraging. Because for Arjuna, who lost his father very early on in life, these were all his father figures, Bhishma, Drona, and many others who helped him. And when he saw the same personalities that he had to go and fight, his heart was, it was unhappy. Let's see what all happens after this. Next verse, please. Thank you. Text 31. Nacha Shreyo Pashyami Hatva Swajanamahave Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna Nacharajyam Sukhani Cha. Hari Mohan Mataji. Can you unmute yourself and do the translation? Are you?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
Thank you. And I beg for the forgiveness from the devotees if your name is not being called. I'm being pretty random about it. So I really beg for your forgiveness. There is no specific order. We are just trying to, usually in the temple, we have a whole group chanting, but this is unusual. So, just please bear with me as we move through this Corona crisis. Next verse, please.
Prabhu, I think there's a question in the chat.
Yes. Okay, let me take a look. It is mentioned that Kshatriya and Sannyasi are eligible to enter Sun Globe. Why not Shudras and Vaishyas? And from Rupa Sagar Prabhu, Arjuna's sympathy for both the parties is noted as soft-heartedness. At the end of chapter 15, weakness of heart is described. Are these related? Excellent. So to Satyam's question, whether Kshatriya or Sannyasi, please understand these were not terms that were used by birth. These were specific characteristics that needed to be there in a particular person to be a Kshatriya or Sannyasi. And it was in the previous time. It is not in this time. Because in this time, for example, I have a question. If the modern day Kshatriyas, they fight the battle and they fight, for example, we had soldiers going to Iraq in 2003 and they fought and some of them unfortunately lost their life for the country. Were they Kshatriyas to start with, and did they fight for the right cause? I think that will be a very hard situation to justify on many levels. but nevertheless, they did lose their life, and that's a fact. So, Satyam, these are specifically mentioned in Vedic times, not necessarily in modern times. But in the Vedic times, in the modern times, those who lost their life for their country, they come back to this country as extremely wealthy and rich people. That's my understanding, because they gave up their life for the country. So they will come back in a very nice position because they were attached to that country and they fought for that country. They will come back and be in a very, very nice position. And then the sun globe is that any Kshatriya, as Krishna mentions in the 2nd chapter, who dies fighting while performing a Dharma Yuddha, he is eligible to enter into the heavenly planets. And sun is one of the heavenly planets. So that's where it's mentioned, sun globe. Is that okay? And the second point, Rupasagar Prabhu, an excellent question. Arjuna's sympathy is with his enemies, and is he not weak or soft-hearted, and isn't in 15th chapter, as you astutely observed for the last purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions the weakness of heart as one of the stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life. Yes, Arjuna became weak-hearted, and thus, but the beauty is, there are 2 points. Why did Arjuna become weak-hearted? And seriously, if this is the position of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what are we? And what is the point in we reading Bhagavad Gita? Maybe Arjuna didn't hear Bhagavad Gita in his previous verses. All those doubts can creep up. But please understand, it is mentioned that 2 points. Arjuna is an eternally liberated associate of Krishna. In Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that the Naranarayana Rishi, again, that's a whole other topic, but just accept the statement of Bhagavatam, that Naranarayana Rishi in the previous incarnations have come as Krishna and Arjuna. So Arjuna was Nara in his previous life when Narayana was there side by side. So he's an eternally liberated soul, which brings up this point, why did he all of a sudden his heart became like soft like butter? And I would like you to hold on to that thought, because we will come, or rather when you read the purport, I'll answer right now. When we read the purport, we in the 2nd chapter, I believe it is the 10th or the 11th verse, there you'll get the answer to that. First of all, Arjuna was deliberately put into that situation by Krishna himself, the Acharyas say, because Arjuna wanted to tell the whole world Bhagavad Gita. He just spoke Bhagavad Gita, and then he solved, or he gave enlightenment to the whole world. Just think about it. We are discussing at length Bhagavad Gita, but this was actually Arjuna's problem and Krishna's counsel. Yes or yes? Wasn't that to begin with? Then why are we wasting our time reading Bhagavad Gita? I mean, what purpose is? Am I Arjuna? No. Am I here sitting to fight the Bhagavad Gita to kill all my relatives and win the kingdom? No. Then why am I reading Bhagavad Gita? The idea there is Arjuna was deliberately put into that illusion so that Krishna could speak Bhagavad Gita and enlighten the whole world with his message. And that was the goal. And regarding the soft-heartedness of Arjuna, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Arjuna was a Vaishnava. And the quality of a Vaishnava is that he is willing to forget. In fact, as we read the further arguments, Arjuna is saying, I will live by begging rather than killing. As we see the next few verses, we can do that. I will ask one person. Today, I think Tejas, you also repeat after me, because I'm getting uncomfortable. I am not even sure if my 10 seconds is a timer I have to wait, or so that at least one person, if he follows, then I know where to begin or end. Otherwise, it's it's eerily guesswork. There's quite some guesswork here. So
Okay, no problem, Prabhu. Yeah.
all right, next verse is nothing. And next time I'll ask some other youth to join me. So in that sense, it's okay. So kindly repeat after me. Kim no rajyena govinda.
Kim no rajyena govinda.
Kim bhogair jivitena va.
Kim bhogair jivitena va.
Mate, you have to show the English. Perfect. Esham arthe kangshitam na.
Yesham arthe kangshitam no.
Rajyam bhoga sukhani cha.
Rajyam bhogaha sukhani cha.
Ta ime vastita yuddhe.
Ta ime vastitha yuddhe.
Pranam styaktva dhanani cha.
Pranam styaktva danani cha.
Acharyam pitara putras.
Acharyah pitarah putras.
Tataiva cha pitamaha.
Tathaiva cha pitamaha.
Matula swashura pautra.
Matula swasura pautra.
Shyala sambandhinastata.
Shala sambandhinastatha.
Etanna hantumichhami.
Etanna hantumichhami.
Natopi madhusudana.
Gnoti madhusudhana.
Api trailokya rajyasya.
Api trailokya rajyasya.
Heto kimnu mahi krite.
Heto kimnu mahi krite.
Nihatya dharta rashtranaha.
Nihatya dharta rashtranaha.
Ka pritisya janardana.
Ka pritihi syad janardana.
Ramijay Prabhu, please, translation. Thank you. Ramijay Prabhu? Okay. That's fine. Maybe I can ask later.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhu.
No worries. Yes.
Microphone here.
Go ahead.
Oh, Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Thank you. So here, the first aspect of Arjuna's lamentation begins, and where he says, "Why should we kill them?" The first bodily attachment begins, and he says, "Why should we kill them?" And we can analyze different categories of objection that Arjuna provides. It's a very, very, very well layered structure of argument that Arjuna provides. So we'll start off with the first one. The first one is compassion. Chando, it's okay. No, why should we kill them? It's just the compassion that begins with. So let's go to the next verse, please. Yeah, come on in. Thank you. Okay. Papamevashrayedasman.
Papamevashrayedasman.
Atvaitan atatayinaha.
Hatvaitan atatayinaha.
Tasman narhavayam hantum.
Tasman Tasmanarha vayam hantum
Dhartarashtran sabandhavan
dhartarashtran sabandhavan
Swajanam hi katam hatva
swajanam hi katham hatva
Sukhina syama madhava.
sukhinah syama madhava.
Shilpa Mataji, please do the translation and then the first or two sentences of the purport. You can read from your book that I can see that. So just a translation. Mataji, you don't change the screen.
Okay, Prabhu. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Purport. According to Vedic injunction, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. First is a poison giver. Second, one who sets fire to the house. Third, one who attacks with deadly weapons. Fourth, one who plunders riches. Fifth, one who occupies another's land. And sixth, one who kidnaps a wife.
So let's see this particular. So in the translation, what does Arjuna say? Arjuna says, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. And then in the very first line, Srila Prabhupada writes and the Acharyas write that there are 6 kinds of aggressors and sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. The 6 kinds of aggressors are one who administers poison, one who sets fire to the house, one who kidnaps one's wife, one who steals one's land, one who plunders one's riches, and the last one who attacks with
deadly weapons.
Perfect. Now let's analyze. Poison. Does anybody remember Bhima being poisoned by Duryodhana? Yes. Yes, he remembers. Let's see about setting fire to the house. Were the Pandavas, were they victim of that?
Lakshadra.
Good. Kidnapping one's wife, again, was Draupadi had something going on? What do you say, Mahatma Prabhu? You had something to say, Mahatma Prabhu. Was Draupadi insulted and kidnapped and treated like a slave? And then once, and second time by Jayadratha in the forest, again she was harassed and she was practically kidnapped by Jayadratha. Good. And plundering land, did they do? Plundering riches, did they do? Yes. Attack with deadly weapons, they did that. Attack with deadly weapons happened when they were incognito in the kingdom of Virat and they went and attacked the cows and thus wanted to draw out the Pandavas. Because Duryodhana's biggest fear, I'm pretty sure he didn't sleep for 1 year when they were in incognito, because his whole purpose was to ask his spies to see where about the Pandavas. That was his insurance policy, Duryodhana's insurance policy. Somehow or other, I'll have exactly 1 year to find out where the Pandavas are in incognito. My spies are all over the earth and I just need to extract them and then expose them, and off they go to forest for 12 more years. So again, it's a guaranteed periodic rotation. And then, unfortunately, when they were in the kingdom of Virat, Draupadi was molested by Kichaka, and she went and complained to her husbands. And Bhima said, okay, ask him to come to the gymnasium and then just say that, just don't tell anybody and come to gymnasium. And then Kichaka actually, because Kichaka has been following Draupadi for quite some days or some months, and he was unsuccessful in seducing her. And Bhima proposes this solution, and then Kichaka actually, one day Draupadi goes, it is the hardest part for Draupadi to do. that she goes and she says, oh, my hero Kichaka, now my wait is over. You come to gymnasium, and then let's let your heart's desires be fulfilled. And then Kichaka, actually, that Kichaka, he takes some extra intoxication that day, so that and then he puts on nice dress and everything. You know the story. I don't have to tell you. It's one of those primal instincts. And then he goes, and then he is taken surprised by Bhima. It is a bloody battle, and it is mentioned that the battle ends with the fact Kichaka was the most powerful and feared amongst the Virat kingdom, and he was really powerful, tall. And then when the battle ended between Bhima and Kichaka, it was so ferocious that Kichaka's head was pushed into his torso, his arms, and just like Lord Jagannath, but in a very grotesque way, just his arms and legs were completely pushed into his torso, and there was no head, no arms, and no legs of Kichaka. They were all pushed into the body. It just became like a lump, just a big lump. And people heard, my goodness gracious, who could have done this? Who could have actually had so much of power? Then this news reached Duryodhana. All right, guaranteed, only one person could have done it, and this is Bhima. So let us attack the kingdom of Virata, so that if the Pandavas are truly hiding in the kingdom of Virat, they will come out to support the king, and in that way they will be exposed. So it's a buy one get one free plan. Try to buy the cows and get Pandavas in the process free. That was the goal of Duryodhana. So he attacks coming back to the point. So they were attacked. So where the Kauravas aggressors or not? Yes or yes? You can type in chat. I mean, if you do one thing, you are an aggressor. If you do two, confirmed. 3 is confirmed. 6, all of it, are they not aggressors? Yes. Then the head scratching part is, Arjuna says, sin will overcome us. That is the head scratching part, right? How is the sin going to overcome us? How will sin overcome us? How will sin overcome Arjuna? He was perfectly justified in killing the Kauravas. The answer is, and Srila Prabhupada writes in the purports. His purports are genius. Srila Prabhupada's purports are genius. He gives the hint to that particular dilemma in the purport itself. He says that according to the Artha Shastras, the rules of code of conduct, moral scriptures, the Pandavas were justified in killing the Kauravas because they were the aggressors. But because Arjuna's guru and superiors like Drona, Bhishma, Kripa, and other personalities were present and they were amongst the aggressors, even if the superiors attack you, you are not supposed to counterattack. And if you counterattack and kill them, because that is the code of scripture as well, where the superiors attack you, you are not supposed to counterattack them. And this is a direct contradiction, because the one book says, this is the book of moral code of conduct says, they are aggressors, kill them. The Dharma Shastra says, no, don't kill them because they are your superiors. How to resolve this dilemma? It is mentioned that if the Dharma Shastras and Artha Shastras have contradictory recommendations, then Dharma Shastras win. And in this case, because the aggressors were his superiors, yes, there would be sin by Arjuna in killing, which was his second fear. That the first fear was compassion. The first reason he said was, I have compassion. The second thing was sin, that sin will overcome us. And then that's why he said, sin will overcome us, O Arjuna, if we kill such people. It was not Arjuna was completely mentally imbalanced at that point of time that he forgot the course of scriptures. Good. Everybody got that? Should I explain again? Questions, Tejas, comments, concerns? Perfect.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Nam Saranam Das Prabhu.
Namaskaram Prabhu ki Harival.
Prabhu, so you mentioned that, in the conflict, Dharma Shastra wins, right?
Correct.
But then going forward, he still fought with the superior.
That's a good question. Dharma Shastras and Artha Shastras are always obedient to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord says you fight, then no other Shastra can stand before the Lord's orders. You better fight.
Thank you, Prabhu. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Because at that point of time, please understand, till we reach the second chapter, Krishna and Arjuna just talk like equals. And it's a fact that they were equals. Please understand this fact. It is mentioned in Mahabharata. I don't remember the context, but actually it so happened that there was one bed on which Krishna and Arjuna were sleeping. And on that bed, Arjuna head was here, his legs were facing Krishna's head. And Krishna's head was touching Arjuna's feet, and Krishna's legs or feet were touching Arjuna's head. It was that intimate of a friendship between Krishna and Arjuna. So at this point of time, they are just talking like friends.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
Perfect. Other questions, comments? Yes.
Prabhu, I have a question. So after Krishna's enlightenment, I think everybody heard, right, on the battlefield. And still, I don't understand why the Kaurava continue to fight. I mean, it's like foolishness. Yeah, I don't understand that.
Actually, the Acharyas say that not everybody could hear or everybody could grasp the essence of Krishna's teaching. Not everybody could recognize that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's the reason why, and then again, Mataji, the Bhumika Mataji, the Lord's mission was to reduce the armies in the world that were burden on Mother Earth. Mother Earth, when she complained to Brahma, saying that there are so many kings maintaining these heavy armies, sometimes Krishna comes as himself to reduce the population on the earth, or sometimes he sent COVID. It's just the nature of this material existence. Is that okay?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Hey, there's a question in the chat, Prabhu.
Yes. Then let's see. Mahatma Prabhu, yes. If Dronacharya looks same level to every student, why Dronacharya separately the Chakravyuha? Because as I said before, even though you try to treat everybody equally, for your own son, you will have that little extra partiality. So that's the reason why Drona was not beyond that. He was not on the level that he completely neglected that. That's the reason. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I have one question. Prabhuji, is it okay?
Yes, Anuradha Mataji, go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, Duryodhana father, he know that Krishna is a supreme everything, but why he didn't advise to Duryodhana? Krishna is in that side, and he's a supreme lord. And fool you, why you are so much intention about these things? Why he can't explain that much good way, and why he can't explain that way? He knows that Krishna is supreme, but why he didn't mention to Duryodhana in that nice way? So he at least he can save his all 100 sons. But why he doesn't do it that way, Prabhuji?
Thank you. Dhritarashtra was a sincerely okay person. But his fault was that he was blindly attached to his son. And his son was the personification of envy and Kali Yuga. He tried his best to kill the Pandavas. And Dhritarashtra, he failed to stop his son. Unfortunately, where it suited him, Dhritarashtra blamed the destiny. And where it suited him, he just said, I am the king. I'll give an example. Many saints, they came to the court of Dhritarashtra. They said to Dhritarashtra, please don't fight with Pandavas. Your kingdom will be destroyed. Your whole family will be destroyed. Please don't fight. And he would get that. Dhritarashtra would get that. And when he told Duryodhana, but the saints, he said, well, it is destiny. If my family is supposed to be destroyed, then so be it. What can I do? I mean, he sympathized, but that was his attitude. But when Duryodhana told him, so I give an example. Dhritarashtra knew very well that when the gambling match that was happening was not something very good thing to do. And as a king, he could have said to Duryodhana, be satisfied with your Hastinapur kingdom, and the Pandavas have their kingdom, and be happy. I'm not going to call for this match. As a king, I can make that order. But okay, fine. As a king, so you see that because of his blind attachment for Duryodhana, he was dilly-dallying, he was wavering. And that's the reason why Dhritarashtra was scolded quite a few times. Even though he was the king, he was told by Vidura, he was told by Sanjaya, he was told by other sages, oh king, it's your fault. You are the king, you are the responsible person, it's your fault. You should prevent this, but he couldn't. So unfortunately, he failed. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. But at the end, he was blamed. Bhishma, you have killed my son. So that time he was he was so angry on Bhishma. Bhishma, that why you have killed it.
Yeah, he was. He knew the consequences, but he didn't do anything to stop it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji, I have one quick question, bro. You mentioned about when I think turn off the light you're talking about, like at the time of the donor charge, about the student testing part. You mentioned that I think Kali Yuga is a worst time, and Dwapar Yuga at that time more advanced, like Treta Yuga, and then all are advanced than this time, right? According to what we understand. But how come now it seems to be like when you mentioned a light turn off, that means there's no electricity or nothing. It's more advanced at that time. Why it is not available at that time? I mean, supposed to be more than now. It makes sense, Prabhuji?
Yes.
So how come it is like at a time, even I heard that Krishna lived here for 25 years only. But it's supposed to be 1,000, right?
Correct.
Like people used to live the 1,000 years.
Correct.
And now he was a very young age. He left. So can you clear me a little bit on that? So thank you.
Sure. So the first question, just so that I want to make sure that I understand you right also, and so that just for the benefit of others too. So why is it that the electricity and other modern technologies were not available during those time? And the second question is, why is Krishna mentioned as being present on this earth only for 125 years? So yes. The answer to the first question is, couldn't the sages devise electricity? They could obviously devise electricity, but the amount of the modern times, unfortunately, solving the problem without consulting the scriptures or considering the consequences to either ecology or future generations, it's taking a toll. If you can see my point, just the global warming or the fossil fuels getting depleted and this causing so much of pollution. The idea there was, I will build an automobile that will help me make my life faster without considering why it might not be the best of the ideas or how can it impact in future. The sages in those times were very conscious of the fact that earth and this creation was sacred, was made by God. So we need to preserve it. And we are just here to do our basic functionality and move out. And think about it. If you are traveling and you stay in the hotel, then you don't start, just destroying the hotel property without no consideration. You are very, very aware that I'm not here to stay permanently, and so I shouldn't damage it. So in the same way, when people have this mentality that this earth is mine and I can exploit the resources of the earth without considering the future ramification, then you can see the present situation, the pollution and so on and so forth. So the sages were very clearly aware. I bring this up in another class, forgive me if somebody already heard it, but couldn't the sages invent jeans 5,000 years ago? Why dhotis? I mean, like, dhotis in India, it seems to be like such a old thing, right? But think about it, a dhoti actually serves perfect purpose of what you need. And it's simple. You don't have to worry about dhoti ever getting tight. Oh my God, if I put on weight, dhoti gets tight. So you can see the thing. Their whole purpose was to use this life for spiritual advancement. And that's the reason why we don't tinker too much with the environment, because we know that this is just a temporary state. And in future, again, the generations are going to come and I'll be answerable to God but in the modern context, it's just like, this is one body and this is my earth, my planet. And somehow or other, without considering consequences, I just blindly solve problems. And Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, the solutions will become the bigger problems than the problems itself that you're trying to solve. And exactly that's what is happening. Is that okay, Mahatma Prabhu?
Good answer, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. And the answer to the second part, why Krishna stayed only for 125 years when the lifespan was 1000. Krishna's appearance was towards the very end of Dwapar Yuga, and the Kali Yuga was starting. So at every age, there is the Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali, and between those ages, it's called Sandhya, or the periods where the Passover happens. And it's not like I have a span of 1000 years and then next day, everybody is just going to be like 100 years. It's not like a sudden thing. It gradually happens. And towards the end of, so it started off with 1000 and slowly as Dwapar Yuga started, continued, towards the Kali Yuga, the lifespans were no longer 1000. And of course, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He can choose how much he wants to stay in this world, but he was following the norm at that point of time. Is that okay, bro?
Yes, it was very good. And about the first questions, I was thinking, looks like now, before Mahabharata, during the Mahabharata air time, they kill a lot of people, right? A lot of people. At that time, more than what we are having right now, I heard like that. So that means at that time, they used to live in a natural life too much. That's why they don't need to have all global warming, this, that, lot of things. They used to live natural. That's why it was cooler than now. So that means, okay. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you.
I got some point.
Thank you. And one last point to add was the Pandavas were in the forest for 12 years. And then if they found that a particular part of the forest was severely depleted, I mean, they used up the resources so that the animals were struggling, they would say, we'll move to some other part of the forest. So they wouldn't stay there permanently so that the other animals would be deprived of natural resources or other things. So they were very conscious of the environment and ecology like that. The green revolution that is started recently, it was pretty much in our consciousness, you know, in the Vedic times or during the Mahabharata times. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Srivasa Prabhu. This is Ashray Madhav.
Haribol, Ashray Madhav Prabhu.
Haribol, Haribol Prabhu. Prabhu, I was just listening to this conversation, and I just happened to have read Mahabharata, so the big one. And in that, interestingly, there was when the battle was being described. Actually, it is described actually in much more detail than normally shown in B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata and all. Yeah, this is a lot more detail they have described there, that whole battle. And in that, they were describing actually people like surgeons and, you know, engineers. You know, they're describing about the weapons and how they are oiling them, preparing them for battle. So looks like engineering was there at that time.
Okay. Yes.
Engineering definitely existed at a much more advanced level.
Yes.
It's just that it was not so much, as you are telling rightly, it was not so much for the common people, because they figured out, you know, I mean, during battle, you need to engage, you know, however advanced you can become, you have to, you know, defeat the opposite side.
Right.
Normal people, their life needs to be more aligned to like spiritualism, so that, you know, you don't have electric bulb and working 24 hours a day, you know, in all the problems we have today started with electric bulb actually, right? Yeah. So I was just thinking of, you know, adding to that what you're saying.
Thank you. And then just to add, thank you, Ashray Madhav, which was very nice. They were advanced, but also they were subtle. If you need a weapon, you don't carry like the whole weapons.
Yeah.
Where you go, it is mantra. You know, sound, you could actually create weapons.
Yeah, like software kind of thing.
Exactly, exactly. So it was very subtle, and then on the gross level it was simple, but on a spiritual and mental level and intellectual it was very high. And praise opposite.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Please ask questions. For those who joined for the first time, don't hesitate. We are all students here. We are just trying to learn. So there is no question that is too small, too basic, because we are all learning. And the more you ask, the more we can discuss. While, you know, I have been criticized in the past that sometimes you go too slow, but the idea there is we ask questions, you know, and then we make sure that the questions are answered. So,
we have one more question on chat.
Kanti Mataji, Hare Krishna. Prabhu, Bhishma was a pure devotee. Oh, Satyam asks, okay. Why Krishna chose Arjuna to tell Bhagavad Gita? Why not someone else? Why not Krishna? These questions, when they come, I'm one thing we should understand, that Krishna is independent. He is the Supreme Personality of God. He can choose anybody whom he wants to share the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And when we don't, and nobody can understand the mind of the Supreme Personality of God. Bhishma, actually, the beauty is Bhishma himself says in the ninth chapter of the first canto, that many people, philosophers and fine exalted people with highly developed brains, try to understand Krishna, try to forecast Krishna, try to know what's going on in the mind of Krishna, and they fail to do so. If that was their capacity, then who are we? And for those who are interested, if you think that, oh, that is really too much, please look up Bhishma's prayers in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He says that one of the prayers, he says, many people say, many people say, I know Krishna. And then Brahma says, let them think like that. But as far as I am concerned, I have no idea about Krishna. So while it's a nice question, it is essentially questioning why Krishna chose. Unfortunately, the Acharyas didn't say specifically, but later, to add to your question, Satyam, he says in the 4th chapter, he says, Bhakto sime saka cheti rahasyam etaduttam. Oh Arjuna, because you are my friend and you are my devotee and you are non-envious of me, that's the reason I'm going to reveal this truth to you. So that is one reason why he chose. And at the same time, there are many devotees, but Krishna chose what he chose. Is that okay answer, Satyam?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Shanti Mataji says, Bhishma was a pure devotee, still why couldn't he hear Krishna just because he's on a dharma side? Can you please enlighten us? And then Krishna gives him darshanam before his disappearance. How do we understand this? So Bhishma is, as we know the story, he was a Vasu or a resident of higher planets, and he was cursed by Vasishtha Muni to come to this earth. And then his brothers or compatriots were killed by Mother Ganga immediately after their birth. But Bhishma was cursed to stay on this earth for a long time. Bhishma was the devotee of the Supreme Lord. Actually, he heard Bhagavad Gita. In fact, it is mentioned that the devotees of the Lord were able to hear Bhagavad Gita. But Bhishma, his rasa with Krishna was Virya rasa, or fighting spirit. Krishna wanted to see his devotee fight. And it is mentioned in the ninth chapter of the first canto that when Bhishma shot his sharp arrows at Krishna and they were piercing the body of Krishna, and apparently it seems that the blood was coming out from those arrows on the beautiful transcendental body of Krishna. For Krishna, it felt as if Bhishma was showering flowers upon him. So based on how Krishna perceives it, externally we may think that Krishna is, Bhishma is on the side of adharma, and then he's actually, how can he even shoot the Lord with the arrows? But the internal or the inner rasa is different from what it seems externally. And Krishna wanted to enjoy that particular pastime. In fact, it is mentioned that Bhishma wanted to see that side of the Lord where he wanted the Lord to kill him. And then that was his desire. And that's the reason he went with Arjuna at intense ferocity. Mahabharata war describes at one point, the arrows were so fast and so furious. And Arjuna was not 100% in his capacity when he was fighting against Bhishma. As I mentioned earlier, he saw Bhishma after a long time, and he remembered his father figure like Bhishma who gave him protection. And Krishna was saying, oh Arjuna, fight against this Bhishma, otherwise you will not win the battle. And Arjuna, and then Bhishma was just going full-fledged attack. And then at one point, Krishna, he said, this is enough. Bhishma is completely decimating your armies. If you don't fight against him, we are going to lose this battle. If you can't kill him, I'm going to kill him. And then Krishna jumps out from the chariot. He picks up the broken wheel and he rushes towards Bhishma to kill him. And Bhishma at that point of time, his arms are open. He says, Krishna, please kill me. This is the moment I have been waiting for. And then Arjuna, he realizes, oh Krishna, what did I do? And then he jumps out of the chariot and he grabs the feet of Krishna to not let him go. Oh Krishna, please, I'll fight, don't go. And then Krishna is in such angry state. Mahabharata says that when he walks towards Bhishma with the bow and the arrow and Arjuna clutching on his leg, he walks 10 steps, dragging Arjuna with him before he stops. And Arjuna says, Krishna, you've taken a vow that you will not raise any weapons or do anything on this battle. And now the chariot wheel is not a weapon, but if you still do this, then the whole world will defame you for breaking your promise. Such a beautiful exchange that Krishna says, I don't care about my own word, but I love my devotee so much, I'm willing to take that defamation for the sake of my devotee. And then Arjuna, that is love. Arjuna says, no, Krishna, people shouldn't defame you. I'm going to go fight. So that rasa was there with Bhishma, so that's the reason he fought. And then of course, because Bhishma is a Mahajana, is one of the 12 authorities of devotional service. In the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, it is mentioned, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, Kumaro Kapilo Manuhu, Prahlada Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayasakir Vayam. There are the 12 Mahajanas. And Yamaraj says, Dvada Shaite Vijanimo, the next verse. So he was one of the Mahajanas who knew the pure path of devotion to Krishna. Why would he fight against Krishna, knowing well that he's a supreme Lord? Because Krishna wanted him to fight in that capacity and enjoy the rasa of this devotee. And then, and Shanti Mataji, as you so rightly pointed out, at the end, the battle was over, and Krishna was sitting in Hastinapur with the Pandavas. And one day the Pandavas came in the morning and they saw that Krishna was meditating and he was deep in meditation. And they asked him, Lord, what happened? He says, Bhishma is about to leave the body. Let's go. He's calling for me. I need to go and visit him. So Krishna actually drove from Hastinapur after the battle to give darshan to Bhishma, because Bhishma was waiting for the Lord to come and give him his darshan at the time of death. That is such a glorious, death of Lord Bhishma. Is that okay? Please forgive me if I speak too much. If somebody says you are speaking too much, cut it down, Srivasa Pandit Das, I will do it. We'll give very, very 1-2 line answers. So yeah, just to let you know. Yeah, still there is a struggle. We still have to complete Bhakti Shastri. I mean, we can sit for years together doing this Bhagavad Gita, but I don't think that is the goal.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was very amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. So the next verse, please.
Oh, wait, Prabhu, I think what Rasa Mataji is just asking if only the devotees of Krishna could hear the Gita, or could everybody?
So everybody could, even though technically they could hear, they couldn't understand. This is another beauty of Gita, is that Krishna says, Bhakto sime sakacheti rahasyam hetutam. Rahasya. And then in the 10th chapter, he says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, in secret. Now, Bhagavad Gita is not a paid app, right? Free app and paid app. The free app is that you will have first 2 chapters available. And then the paid app is you will have the remaining 18 chapters available. Or you have a document of Bhagavad Gita, but only if you pay money, you will see the password to download the document. I'm just giving an example, but Bhagavad Gita is there. All the 18 chapters are there. Every word is there. Everything is there. It's right in front of you. So why is it that it's a secret? The idea there is Krishna is so beautiful that he can give you everything and he can give you nothing if you don't have that realized knowledge. Is that okay? Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva comes in Bhagavad Gita.
No. What my question was, during the battlefield, were everyone able to understand, listen? Everybody was able to listen, right?
Yeah,
but they didn't understand. That is a different thing.
Even everybody was, Acharya say that because the army was spread so wide, not everybody was able to hear as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So, thank you, Ujjwala. You have to interject like that. Otherwise, I'll go on a tangent.
I think there is one more question, Prabhu.
Yes, Mamta Mataji. Said Arjuna Sam Bhishma. Why is it so, Prabhu? Thank you for your one. Why is it? Because 12 years ago, the Pandavas were exiled. They went to the forest and they were incognito for 1 more year. Oh, you're right. You're right. Arjuna saw Bhishma during the battle of Virat. But Bhishma didn't see Arjuna. Thank you. Yes, I'll take back that comment. Arjuna did see Bhishma during the battle of Virat. Of course, Bhishma and the Kauravas didn't recognize him as such. But just having that face-to-face meeting after, just as Arjuna and Bhishma happened during this first time. So thank you, Mataji. Mamta Mataji. That's an excellent point that you brought up. Though Arjuna saw Bhishma, but formerly he was there as Brihanala at that point of time. And therefore, while, and it also mentioned is, during the battle of Virat, where Arjuna shot arrows at the feet of his superiors to give them respect. So is that okay, Mataji? Formally, after 13 years, they formally saw each other face to face as Arjuna and Bhishma, but not technically seen. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Other questions, comments? All right. Let's complete the chapter and then we can discuss more, so that we can complete the first chapter today. Otherwise, trust me, my dear devotees, you will be very unhappy with the pace later. You will say this guy is never going to end. I think maybe I need to end my or end his life. Okay. Next verse. Siri. Okay. Thank you. All right. You have to go back, Mataji. It's again, we are back in the advanced. If you can go back to the advanced view. I think the next tab, I guess.
But I think it's right now, Prabhu.
This is correct.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Tejas, let me see if there is someone else that can read. Anybody who wants to read with me? So if you can just raise your hand, then we can just do that. If not, Tejas will continue in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Ishwari Radhanathji clapped. Okay, I see. Fine. Okay, Tejas, let's go. Yadyapyetena pashyanti. Oh, okay. Yashri Radhanathji raised the hand. Okay, Mate, you go then.
Yeah, I think Ishwari Radha Mataji also, she meant a raising hand and not a clap.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I meant raising hand. Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So if that is the case, Jayashree Mataji, you do one, and Ishwari Radha Mataji, you do another.
Okay.
And start with Jayashree Radha.
Okay.
Yadapyetena pashyanti.
Yadyapyetena pashyanti.
Lobopahata chetasaha.
Lobhopahata chetasaha.
Kulakshaya kritam dosham.
Kulakshaya kritam dosham.
Mitradrohe cha patakam.
Mitradrohe cha patakam.
Ishwari Radha Mataji. Katam nagyeyam asmabhihi.
Katham nagyeyam asmabhi.
Papad asman nivartitum.
Papad asman nivartitam.
Kulakshaya kritam dosham.
Kulakshaya kritam dosham.
Prapashyadbhir janardhana.
Prapashyadbhir janardhana.
Okay, who are Parth? You want to do the translation? All right. If Parth, maybe you can do later. Anandakishore Prabhu.
Yes, true. Oh Janardhana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
Thank you. The kids are intelligent. Sometimes I remember my daughter was young, a little younger, and then her friends would come for sleepover sometimes, and then her mom would ask her, like, what do you want? And then she would say, my friend who is there for sleepover wants this. Actually, she wanted it. So here you can see Arjuna's argument is shifting from the personal stuff, as in, what enjoyment will we get in killing these people, or how can I even enjoy? Right now, it is going on to the social structure. He says the families will be affected. And now you can see how the argument builds up with Arjuna about the family. And then you can see the theme, how he goes to build up his argument on why he doesn't want to fight. It's a very, very logical, very scriptural, and very emotional, all at the same time. And it's a very beautiful arguments that even Arjuna puts forth as to why he doesn't want to fight. And the irony, if somebody says that Bhagavad Gita is a book about violence, then please tell them that how there was such a debate over whether you want to do this or not do this. So, the next verse, please. And Pavani Bhakti, you raised your hand, so please do that. And Rup Sagar Prabhu, I asked you, please do the translation of the Sanskrit. Kulakshaye pranashyanti. Pavani Bhakti Mataji, are you there? Okay. They just. Go ahead.
Kulakshaye pranashyanti.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Adharmo bhavatyuta.
Adharmo bhavatyata utyata.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion.
Thank you. And then the next verse. Okay.
Sorry, Prabhu, I was a little distracted.
No worries, no worries. I just called you because you raised your hand. So
Yeah.
Okay. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna.
Adharma bhibhavat Krishna.
Pradushyanti kulastriyaha.
Pradushyanti kulastriyaha.
Strishu dushtasu varsneya.
Strishu dushtasu varsneya.
Jayate varna sankaraha.
Jayate varana sankaraha.
Translation.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So here you can see the argument is now shifting from personal to family. And he says, in those days, of course, the women were not on the battlefield. And one of the tragic episodes of Mahabharata was when this whole Mahabharata war was over. And Yudhishthir had gone back to Hastinapur. The sight that met him broke his heart. Thousands upon thousands of widows with young children, they were lamenting that my husband has been killed. And like it or not, during any tragedy, the king is responsible for that tragedy. Now, we can see in the present context with the COVID, and then for those who are in California or on the West Coast, the forest fires that are raging, and just the smoke that's just really causing such inconvenience. The king you hold responsible, of course. That is the assumption being that the king feels responsible in the modern times or in the present context, but let's not get that side of story right now. But in any case, Yudhishthir saw that the women were devastated because there were no maintainers and they were not working, and they had young children, in some cases old people to take care of. Then they were just left to fend for the whole family. And then Yudhishthira saw this and his heart just became so overwhelmed with grief. Actually, there is a second Bhagavad Gita episode that happens after Mahabharata war. This Bhagavad Gita episode happens before, but the second part happens after. Bhagavad Gita-like episode happens after the Mahabharata war, where Yudhishthir, he sees the plight of these widows whose soldiers, whose husbands had been killed in the Mahabharata war, and he takes a firm vow, a determined vow, that I will not be the king. Just, I am a sinful person, my destination is hell. I am convinced I am going to hell, because just for me to become the king, so many women lost their husbands, and he refuses to become the king. And that's a whole other pastime that we won't get into. But coming back to the present verse, Arjuna had this argument. He said, the family will be involved in religion, there will be no protection, and then let's see what else happens as we go ahead in the verse. Actually, let me pick somebody. Shubhabrata, there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Nice to see you, Shubhabrata. Well, let's do the verse together. The next verse, Sirisha Mataji, please. Sorry, so you have to bear with me for those, we are doing it on the Zoom for the first time, so we'll just do it as we go along. Mate, Sirisha Mate, you have to project the verse. Is there?
42, 41.
Okay, I don't see, yes, I see it. No, I have to shift it. Okay, thank you. Sankaro narakayaiva.
Sankaro narakayaiva.
Kulagnanam kulasya cha.
Kulajnanam kulasya cha.
Patanti pitaro hyesham.
Patanti pitaro yesham.
Lupta pindo dadakriyaha.
Lupta pindo dadakriya.
Translation.
An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down, because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
Thank you so much, Shubhabrata. So you can see now Arjuna, he's shifting his argument from individual to family to a bigger thing right now. He's also talking about the forefathers who departed. You just see the ramifications of just killing one person, or the impact that this will happen on one family. So Arjuna's considerations were very deep and deliberate. And at this point of time, people who are not having faith in Krishna, they come up with these ridiculous arguments that what sort of God is this that incites war? What sort of God is this that Arjuna wanted to be peaceful, but he's provoking war? These foolish arguments come about because we don't realize who actually Krishna is or what his power is. Yeah. Let's see what else. Priyanka Mataji from ISV Fremont. Let's do the next verse, please. Where is the verse? Is it there? Okay. Take your time, Sirisha. Doshairetaikulaghnanam.
Doshairetaikulaghnanam.
Varnasankarakarakaihi.
Varnashankarakarakaihi.
Utsyadhyante jati dharma.
Utsadyante jati dharma.
Kuladharmascha shashvataha.
Kuladharmascha shashvataha. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
Thank you. And the next verse. So you can see here the family, the society's welfare projects, the forefathers, everything is mentioned here. You can go back to the screen. All right. Here I see one couple, Rishi and Mrigakshi. Hare Krishna. I'm just picking up randomly. So.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Kindly repeat after me.
Yes,
Utsanna kula dharmanam.
Utsanna kula dharmanam.
Manushyanam janardana.
Manushyanam janardana.
Narake niyatam vaso.
Narake niyatam vaso.
Bhavati tyanushruma.
Bhavati taya anushruma.
Translation.
O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family tradition are destroyed dwell away in hell.
Thank you. All right. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that that the disciplic succession is mentioned here for the first time. That Srila Prabhupada says that Arjuna is not basing his argument on his own thought, but from disciplic succession and how the knowledge comes from disciplic succession. So Arjuna goes from his personal enjoyment, he goes to the family, he goes to society, he goes to forefathers. At last he comes back saying that if I do this, oh Krishna, that I will go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. And then it comes back again in the loop. And the next verse, please. Sorry, that is I misspoke, and then my apologies. This is Mrigakshi Mataji and her son Rishi. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, go ahead.
No, Prabhu, that's
Brajanandini Mataji, you're there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Aho bata mahat papam.
Aho bata mahat papam.
Kartum yavasita vayam.
Kartum yavasita vayam.
Yadrajya sukhalobhena.
Yadrajya sukhalobhena.
Antum swajanamudyataha.
Antum swajanamudyataha. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Thank you. And then, actually at this point of time, Arjuna is rather like unbelievable. Krishna, is it serious? Are you even my friend? Because why are you asking me to do this? This is tough. Because I don't want to do this. Because it's wonderment. Aho bata. Just think about it. Aho is like Krishna. Arjuna is expressing his wonderment. It's unbelievable, Krishna. I can't go to hell just because I need to win this kingdom. And then back to Rupasagar Prabhu's question, about the soft-heartedness, just see the heart of Arjuna, that Arjuna, his kingdom was grabbed by the people against whom he had to fight. His wife was insulted in an open assembly. And many times, Karna, he was speaking harsh words against him. That for 12 years he was in the forest. And to come back and to forgive them, that takes a lot of soft-heartedness, or as Srila Prabhupada writes, this shows that he was a devotee of Krishna. On his own account, he is willing to forgive. He's a Vaishnava. So it is mentioned that if the insult or the offense is to one's own self, then the Vaishnava is not really willing to fight or to protest. But if it is against others, then they are ready. So Arjuna was that. Is that okay, Rupsagar Prabhu? While it might be on the weakness of heart, from a perspective, it is true. Don't get me wrong, because Krishna actually says, Kshudram Hridaya Daurbalyam. Arjuna himself says, I have a weakness of heart. Please help me. But these are the qualities that bring about. Is that okay? Okay. All right.
Hare Krishna, Srivasa Prabhu. This is Asim Madhav again.
Yes.
So I was just observing this whole thing, and even in Bhagavatam also, when I read those scriptures, I find that it is almost like an uncanny compact between the Lord and his devotees, that when something is done to a devotee personally does not take any offense, but something is done to other devotees or to the Lord, he takes like offense to the point of getting extremely angry. And same way with the Lord, right? When if you tell him something offensive, then Lord does not take any offense, but the other devotees take offense.
Wonderful. Very nice point.
It is
that was Arjuna's thing. But the battle had to be done. So
yeah. So
nice.
actually what I was saying, that Krishna might have arranged this thing because he was really unforgiving that his devotees had been tortured like that for so many years.
Oh yes. Actually, one last point on that note is that Bhima, he kills Duryodhana by taking his mace and hitting on the thigh. And when he's lying on the ground awaiting his death, Krishna comes, and Duryodhana and Krishna, they have argument back and forth. And Duryodhana accuses Krishna that this is too much, you cheated me. And then in that argument, Krishna says, but you did this thing against my devotees. And Duryodhana says, well, they did this. And every time he gives justification as to why he did what he did. But when Krishna mentions you insulted Draupadi, and then Duryodhana looks up and says, yeah, that was a little too much.
Yeah. Krishna never took that.
Yeah, he took it seriously.
Yeah.
Perfect. And we'll round off the last one, and then we can go ahead. We can complete the chapter. So, Sham Bhakta Prabhu and
Prabhu, I think Ram Babu Prabhu has a question.
He has a question. Okay. Can we complete this chapter, and then we can take the questions till the end of the hour?
Yeah, sure, bro.
Thank you. I'll take your question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Sham Prabhu, Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Please kindly repeat after me.
Sure.
Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah Dhartarashtrarane hanyas Tanme kshemataram bhavet.
Better for me
if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, so I think Lalita Madhavi Mataji, let's please complete off. We'll do the last and then we are done. That is for the Sanjaya Uvacha. Lalita Madhavi Mataji. You know, Mataji, we cannot hear you. Okay. Maybe no. Maybe next time. Oh, well, we can see you and you are unmuted, Mataji. Lalita Madhavi.
Oh, I can go.
Okay. Yes, please. Sanjaya Uvacha.
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhye.
Eva Mukta Varnar Sankhye.
Ratopasta Upavisha.
Ratopasta Upavishat.
Visrijya Sasharam Chapam.
Vishrajya Sasaram Chapam.
Shoka Samvigna Manasaha.
Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
Thank you. So I would heartily welcome for the very first time, though she's been here, but she has not been here for the first time. Palika Mataji, thank you for joining and many congratulations on your initiation. I think you just had now. And so welcome. And I just, if anybody else got initiated today and who are on this call, please let me know. It's many congratulations. And I'm hoping, praying it's the same Palika Mataji that got initiated, not another Palika Mataji. So I can't see the picture. So, well, Zoom is funny that way, really funny. All right, we'll see. Please let me know whoever got initiated today and who are here. So it'd be nice. Because this is a beautiful thing. Last week, I think Harimohan Mataji got initiated. And then that was nice. And then, okay. And she has a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Welcome.
This is Palika Devi Dasi Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Thank you. Very well.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you. Hare Krishna. Is it true that Srimad Bhagavatam can be heard by one who has a lot of pious credits in their previous lives? Well, Bhagavatam says in the second chapter, second canto, first chapter, I believe it's verse number 10. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. It is said that those who are full of desires or those who have no desires, but those who desire for liberation should actually perform devotional service to Krishna. So while the essence of Bhagavatam might be covered, the spiritual effects of reading Bhagavatam will never be lost in this age of Kali Yuga. In fact, you understand that Bhagavatam came for this Kali Yuga. So, Krishnesva dhamo pagate dharma jnanadi bisaha kalau nashtadrisham esham punararko dhunoditam. It is said one of the questions that the sages asked Sutta Goswami in Naimisharanya was that now Krishna is gone. Now, when Krishna was on this planet, all the dharmic principles had taken shelter of Krishna. Now that he left, where did the religious principles go? And then he says that Bhagavatam appeared like the sun appearing to dissipate the dense darkness of the age of Kali. Now, if you put prerequisites for those who have to read Bhagavatam, it will become a catch-22 situation. Bhagavatam is there for Kali Yuga, but Kali Yuga, I can't do Bhagavatam. It will go in a roundabout circle. So yes, Bhagavatam is meant for everybody. How much they can understand, how much they can perceive or follow, that's a whole other question. Is that okay? Hari Mohan Mathji? Okay. There is one more thing. There is a significance of Arjuna dropping the Gandiva. So he had the Arjuna's bow is Gandiva. Yes or yes? Parth?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Good. He took his bow, and it is mentioned in the last verse. He took the bow, just fastest reciting. He said, I will not fight. There is a deep significance to his casting of the bow. And the significance is that Arjuna had taken a vow. Oh, somebody had more question. Arjuna had taken a vow that anybody who said to him, hey Arjuna, don't ever go and tell these words to Arjuna, saying, unless you are suicidal, you say, Arjuna, you are not fit for Gandiva. It is mentioned that Arjuna had taken a vow of anybody who's saying to him that you are not fit to hold the Gandiva weapon, that he would kill him. He would. That insult was so deep to him that he would actually take the life. And during the Mahabharata war, it's mentioned that when Bhishma was lying on the bed of the arrows, this is, I believe it is 8th day or 9th day, 7th or 8th or 9th day. Mahabharata war was for 18 days. During the 7th day or 8th day, Bhishma was lying on the bed of the arrows. And then after that, Dronacharya became the commander-in-chief, and then Karna. After Bhishma lay on the bed of the arrows, then Karna started fighting. And then we know the story of how Bhishma or Karna was approached by Kunti and Krishna, saying that they revealed the secret of his birth. Kunti said, Karna, you are my son. You are my firstborn son. And fight on the side of your brothers. And when Karna refuses, then he makes a promise to his mother Kunti, that she says, at least if you can't fight with their brothers, please promise me that you won't kill them. And then Karna, as we know the story, says that I'll spare the life of all the 4 sons of yours, but with Arjuna, I can't promise that. And in the Mahabharata war, because we are sworn enemies, either Arjuna will kill me or I will kill Arjuna. But in any case, you don't have to fear, because you will still have 5 sons. Keeping up his promise, he fights a tremendous battle against Yudhishthira and utterly defeats him. And he remembers his promise to his mother. And he says to Yudhishthira, no, you are not fit to fight with me. Go learn some more, practice some more and come back and we'll fight. Yudhishthira was tremendously insulted. Had he taken the life of Yudhishthira, it would have been a lesser insult to Yudhishthira, but Yudhishthira was furious and Kshatriya spirit was like really hurt. And as a part of that fight with Karna, he was severely wounded. So his chariot driver, they take him back to the camp where he was, and they give him treatment and so on and so forth. And Arjuna was fighting on the other side, on the completely an unrelated part, nowhere close to where Yudhishthira and Karna episode had happened. And somebody came and told him, your brother has been severely wounded with a fight from Karna. And Arjuna was a little concerned, a little afraid. I want to know I want to see what happened to my brother. So he rushes back to the camp where Yudhishthira was. And Yudhishthira was under the impression that Arjuna had avenged the insult at hands of Karna. And he's coming to tell me that good news, that I have avenged your defeat and I have killed Karna. And Arjuna walks in. Neither of the parties know what was happening, but they walk in. And Yudhishthira asks Arjuna, Arjuna, give me the good news. Did you kill Karna and avenge my defeat? Arjuna said, no, I didn't know. I just came because I heard you were injured. Then Yudhishthira really becomes angry. He tells Arjuna, oh Arjuna, what did you do? You are not... He rails against Arjuna, and then he comes to the statement, Arjuna, you are not fit to hold this Gandiva weapon because you didn't avenge my insult. And then everybody's like, oh my God, what happened here? And then Arjuna is in a dilemma. He's taking his sword. And then Krishna comes, Arjuna, what are you doing? Well, I've taken this vow. And anybody who says I'm not fit for Gandiva, I want to take his life. Then I'm going to kill my brother. And then what? After killing my brother, I'll kill myself, because the only atonement for doing such a heinous act is to take your own life. And then Krishna said, that's what exactly your enemies want. You take your brother's life, the king's life. You're the most powerful warrior on the side of the Pandavas. Well, the battle is done. Then Krishna kind of says, why did you even take that vow? But then he says, okay, now this is the solution. You can take a person's life, or another way to kill a person is to insult him. So you should insult your brother. And then Arjuna does that. And then he says he's ready to take his life. I said, well, what now? He says, no, I insulted my brother, and the solution is that I should kill myself. And then Krishna says, oh my God, you can kill yourself by praising yourself. Another way to kill yourself is to praise in a very different way, that what all I did, this is my thing. And if you praise yourself, it's similar to killing yourself. And in that sense, Arjuna praises himself, and then later he falls at the feet of his brother. Brother, please forgive me, I didn't mean to do this. So when Arjuna actually took the Gandiva bow and he cast it aside, saying that I will not fight, it was pretty much death for him, because he himself didn't consider fit for that Gandiva weapon, and he was ready to give up his life. And then that is the verse that we stop at. And in the next chapter, or in the next week, we'll see what Krishna has to tell Arjuna about this present dilemma. Any questions, any comments?
We have 3 more questions, Prabhu. One, Jayashree Radhi Mataji has a question. Mataji, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, Mataji, but I think before me, Rambabu Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, yes. Thank you, Jayashree Radhi Mataji.
Prabhuji, here Arjuna is giving different arguments, and he is talking about the welfare of the society, family and society. And later we see that the highest dharma is to please Krishna, and Arjuna has to fight. So I'm just trying to, but by performing that highest dharma, and you are also talking about how Yudhishthira laments about how the families were crying because they lost the husbands. So how to comprehend these two things, Prabhuji?
If a soldier is asked to fight in the battlefield, to not fight is actually a dereliction of duty, and he can be charged as such. So in all circumstances, pleasing Krishna was of the highest priority. And because it was Krishna's order, Rambabu Garu, anybody who, there will be temporary difficulty, but then there will be peace on the earth. And when Krishna's order is followed, when Krishna is satisfied, then the whole world will be satisfied. And that is the ultimate principle. Later, it was found that that things calm down. There was the initial emotion, but later things calm down, and the golden period of Maharaj Yudhishthir's reign set, and the world again became peaceful because Krishna executed his mission. Please understand that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am the well-wisher of everyone. So why would he cause such inconvenience had it not been that the world had to be set right by the order of the Supreme Lord? Is that okay? I know it's not the perfect answer, because you might be wondering, so what about the widows? Because everybody was, or Krishna's instructions or Krishna's desire was fulfilled, things will automatically set. And if Krishna's desires are not fulfilled, then, or rather that his instructions, or if people are not generally Krishna conscious, then there is serious difficulty. And then Yudhishthir, it was mentioned in Mahabharata, was later able to pacify, and because of his excellent rule, people were in general happy, and things worked out. It's just a matter of time. In the present context also, we have about 930,000 people that have lost their life to COVID. And it is just the nature of this world where there is creation, maintenance, and destruction going on. And it is going on by a higher power. And as long as Krishna is happy or satisfied within that, this is the way the world is. As much as you want peace in the prison, there is always some fight going on with the prisoners, which is the nature of prison. Is that an okay answer? Or do you have more questions?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yes. Then Jayashree is there? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Krishna Prabhuji. So my question was on verse number 43, where it says that when those who don't follow family traditions dwell in hell. So is that applicable to us? Like so after becoming Krishna conscious after following Vaishnavism, we follow the Vaishnava way of living. We've kind of left what my mom used to do, my grandmom used to do in their tradition. Like we're not following some of the fastings or pujas and all that they used to do, but we're now doing Janmashtami and Narsimha Chaturdashi. So is this applicable to devotees?
So if you can look up the purport to that verse, where Srila Prabhupada, in that verse or the next verse, he gives this statement from Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's mentioned, Devarshi Bhutapta Menam Pitrina, Nayam na Kinkavo Narini Chalajan, Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Charanyam, Gato Mukundam.
That is 41.
41. So in that Mate, it is mentioned how if one is Krishna conscious and fully surrendered to Krishna, then one doesn't have any debts to the forefathers. So the best course of action, and the verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says Sarva Dharman Pariteja exactly means this, where there are a person who is born in this world as a human form of life will have debts. He'll have debts to his forefathers, which includes his parents. Forefathers means father and so on and so forth. And then debt to sages, debt to the living beings, debt to the demigods, because hey, we are able to see if Vayudev is not very, very merciful in Bay Area because he hasn't given too many winds and the smoke is still staying, and the air we are breathing is unhealthy. So we are dependent on demigods. So, and the idea there is that if you are not Krishna conscious, you have to do your portion to reduce the debts to these people. But if you are completely Krishna conscious, then there is no dependency or no need to perform this. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
In Prabhu, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Before that, there are a few more here on the chat. Tarang, is that okay? Can I take those questions first, or if anybody has to go, or if anybody, how are we doing on time? Are we good on time? We can spend a few minutes extra, or the general impression is, the root canal at the dentist, God forbid never anybody has it, is much more pleasant than sitting in this class. Okay. Tarang, I have a question from introduction. Prabhupada says, as the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when living being is in the mode of goodness. Sanity. My understanding that everyone has to undergo through their karma, we cannot cut it. But here it seems Prabhupada says that there is a way to change it if you be in the mode of goodness, if you could help on it. So, Bhagavad Gita discusses 5 topics: Jiva, Ishvara, Kala, Karma, and Prakriti. 5 topics. Out of which Ishvara, Jiva, and Kala is not changed, but Prakriti and Karma changes. The example here is in Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned, Yastvindra Gopa Mathavendra Mahosva Karma, Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti, Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Cha Bhakti Bhajam, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Jami. That those who surrender to the Krishna, to the Supreme Lord, then to that extent, the karma is destroyed. In fact, it is mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion that, what is that verse? I don't remember on top of my head, but 4 types of sin is destroyed. Aprarabdha phalam papam, kutam bijam phalonmukam, kremenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. It is mentioned that there are 4 kinds of sin. Aprarabdha, which means the activities that we committed, but the fruits are unmanifest. Prarabdha means the fruits are manifested, which means this body and just the reactions that we are taking. This is, Krishna says that we have taken billions and billions of birth, and this one birth is like just a small slit of our time, infinite time that we have been. And within this, the karma actually is manifest. This is prarabdha karma, or the experiences that we are happening in this life. That is prarabdha. And then kuta is the tendencies, and bija is the seeds. So all those 4 kinds of karma are destroyed when you perform devotional service to Krishna. So yes, karma can be destroyed by more than mode of goodness. Mode of goodness, it destroys, but even devotional service to Krishna is much more powerful. It's much more effective to destroy the karma. Is that okay, Tarangi?
Yes, Prabhu. This helps. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and then it is mentioned that just by utterance of one name of Krishna, millions of sins are destroyed. So, that's that.
Yeah, this question came because certain lectures I listened, there's some says that, you have to go through your karma. There is no workaround to that. And
Yes.
then I read this, I started reading from introduction and I stuck here and then I could not move forward. So I thought I could ask you.
I do agree. There are some schools of thoughts that actually say that your prarabdha karma is something that you can never destroy. You have to undergo no matter what. And what is the use of taking shelter of Krishna if he cannot destroy the simple karma? Which means that your prarabdha karma is more powerful than Krishna himself. Which means taking shelter of Krishna is not going to be effective. You might as well tolerate it. And in the next life, you will have the same problem because I'm in the prarabdha karma. What's the point? And you can see how this goes on an infinite regress. And the arguments are really not in line with the Shastra, where Krishna is all powerful. And within a fraction of a second, he can actually destroy your entire karma and take you back. In fact, if you want more on this, Tarangi, just read the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Ajamil. How just by mere utterance of the name of Krishna, without even remembering Krishna, it destroyed so much of sin in that he had to undergo.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice. Nice comment. Can we also read purports? Or is it due to time constraints? Pavani Bhakti Mataji, I wish I could read purports. There is so much information Srila Prabhupada packs in the purports. And to unfluff them and to discuss them is joy of life. but give about 10 years to complete the entire Bhakti Shastri. And I kid you not, one of the Bhakti Vrikshas that we did, Srisha Mataji is a witness. I mean, I'm not making this up. She can back me up. We took 8 years to do the entire Bhagavad Gita. Just we went like in depth. And so, yeah. I wish we could read the purports. But that's what I beg the devotees. You read the purports, you come up with questions. I'll be more than happy to not even go through every verse. We can just discuss I'll give a nutshell summary of the chapter and then we can discuss questions. But it's all up to how you want to take it.
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that I understand. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Ankita. What does Janardana means? Also, if Arjuna is already addressing Krishna with these names like Rishikesha, Janardana in the first chapter, so he already knows the majesty of Krishna. But we see Krishna reveals his universal form only in the 11th chapter, and Arjuna realizes that he is the Supreme Personality of God only then. So this is one of those cases where the mother and son bond is always there. It is just because of some, maybe the son was playing in the park and he bumped his head and then he forgot. There was a short-term memory loss where he forgot his relationship with Krishna. As I mentioned earlier, Arjuna was an eternal associate of the Lord, but Krishna put him in this situation so that he can speak. He already knew, there was no doubt that he knew that the Krishna was Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in the nature of friendship, sometimes that intimacy is there. As I said earlier, they were on the same level. Arjuna was thinking, Krishna is my friend, I'm talking to as a friend. So, and Krishna was also behaving in that spirit. He was not being the teacher here. So in that moment where he was overwhelmed with this grief, he of course remembered Krishna, but he was speaking to Krishna as if he was his friend. He was the Lord. He knew he was the Lord, but he was speaking like that. And Ankita Mataji, is a good question you ask, because the question will be, okay, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Why? Because Arjuna saw his universal form. Which means, first Krishna, if I have to chant your name or if I have to accept you as God, come before me, show your universal form, then I will accept. I mean, it can be a very perverted logic, but nevertheless a fallacious, but nevertheless a consistent logic, a pervertedly consistent logic. Actually, Krishna says to Arjuna in the 10th chapter itself, he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhama. He says, you are the Supreme. Everybody accepts you are the Supreme. After Arjuna accepts such, in the 11th chapter, Krishna just shows the universal form. It was not before, it was not after showing the universal form that Arjuna accepted Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, what does Janardana mean?
Janardana means one who is a maintainer. Jana Ardhana. Ardhana is to maintain. And of course, and then Jana means the people, common population. So maintainer of the people.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Shyam Bhakt and Mataji. I have a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is regarding the categories of the Arjuna's reasons for why he doesn't want to fight the war.
Right.
Yeah. So just wanted to get more insight. Like one was compassion.
Perfect. Thank you for asking. One was compassion. The second was enjoyment.
Yeah. If you can tell more, we will write notes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the first one was compassion. The second one was enjoyment. In the notes, I think, which is supplied with the class, I think it should be there, but nevertheless, I'll tell. The first one was compassion. The second one was enjoyment. Like if I kill all these people, whom can I show my opulence to? And that was the second thing. The third thing was destruction of family and the forefathers also, the society, the welfare projects are destroyed. The forefathers, they are affected. The family members are affected. So the social and the family reasons. And then the fourth one was fear of sinful reactions. That if I kill Arjuna, then I'll go to hell. And the fifth one was indecision. Whether should I fight or should I not fight? So those are the 5 reasons.
Okay. Thanks, Prabhu.
What was the fourth, Prabhu? Fear of?
Fear of sinful reactions. I'll go to hell.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay. More questions? I should stop early because we are going way over time. Yeah.
I had a question in connection to Jai Shri Radhe Mataji.
Okay.
As she said, like, as you said, yeah, if we surrender to Krishna once, then we don't need to do the rituals for what our forefathers did. It's like, okay, fine, we are surrendering to Krishna, but it's not with, like, at least for me, it's not like, I don't think so I have that clean heart that I'm surrendering completely. So in that case, what is the good balance?
All right. In that case, if you can do both, please do both. If not, please chant Hare Krishna. The priority, the focus of our life is to chant the holy names of Krishna, and automatically Krishna is satisfied. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Yatataror Moola Nishechanena Ripyanti Tatskanda Bhajopashaka Pranopahara Cha Yanam Tataiva Sarvar Hanamachiteja. That just like the root, if you pour water and the stomach food, so same thing. If Krishna is satisfied, then everybody is satisfied. So do the best you can. If you have to do both, please do it both. We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who went to Gaya to offer Shraddha to his forefathers as a social convention, Srila Prabhupada writes, but it's not necessary. But if you have to choose between, if you can do both, please do both. But if not, chanting Hare Krishna should be sufficient.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Harimohan Mataji, I had a question regarding the performance. It's not applicable. Okay, then I just answered that question right now. And then...
So we have Sachin Prabhu also have one question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Prabhu, for your class. It's very enlightening to get so much more from the verses that we're already reading. My question was, so Arjuna had a lot of legitimate concerns. Yes, he was very compassionate, and he was also in grief to kill his own relatives and friends and sons and whatnot. But the concerns that he had were legitimate. For example, the concern that he had that if I killed all the men on the opponent side, there will be degradation of womanhood, and which would lead to irreligion going forward. How was that, like, after the war? Was there religion, and like how was it taken care of?
Most of the Vrishni clan was destroyed by the by the curse of the sages, and Mahabharata doesn't mention too much of difficulties because it was the Krishna's mission had been established. There was actually the trouble that was happening prior to his arrival has been taken care of. So when there are riots and then police comes in and then they disperse the riots, there could be some violence, but post that there is peace and calm. So that same thing happened, Sachin. And it's mentioned actually in the prayers of Queen Kunti that Arjuna, that we have so much of profound, the rivers are giving full water, the trees are giving fruits, everything is perfectly going well. It is only because of you. And then as you can see that Krishna was there for almost 36 years. And during that time, actually, it was such a peaceful time and a profusely abundant time because Krishna concluded his mission on this earth. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Divyangi Lalita Mataji is asking which, I mean, I would like to read the Mahabharata. Is the version that you could recommend?
We have online Krishna Dharma Prabhus. I think that's a good start. Though, my apologies. Bhakti Shastri is for reading Bhagavad Gita, but it is very, very attractive to, and you feel like reading Mahabharata. So Mahabharata has about 125,000 shlokas, and the summary study is there in Krishna Dharma Prabhu's book online on Bhakti Vedanta database. So maybe you can, it's a good start, Matthew. You might miss some stories. You might miss some aspects, but that's the price that one has to pay when you read the concise thing. But it will give a very good idea of what is what.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anuradha Mataji has a question. Please, you can unmute yourself, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the whole the first chapter, I heard only Arjuna and Bhishma and the Yudhishthira Maharaj. But why they didn't mention Nakula Sahadeva, Prabhuji?
Well, Nakula and Sahadeva, their conscience are mentioned. Their conscience are mentioned.
Oh,
so if you
thank
can,
you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of soldiers, so it's impossible to mention all. So just the prominent people are mentioned. So, yeah. All right, we can stop here for today. We'll meet in 2 weeks' time. I promise you that we'll not try to go more than 2 hours. My apologies in case it went. But then it's just the way things work. If you have questions, then we'll definitely take time to answer. So I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you for your kind words. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu